What is up, guys? It is the Bluebloods here. I didn't lie. I said B-Dub was coming back. He's finally back. Man, so did you have fun in Georgia? I know we text a little bit. How is Georgia, man?
Georgia is kind of how Georgia always is, and I'm sorry if you're from Georgia because the wedding was cool though. The wedding was a lot of fun, but Georgia in general, bleh. I had to drive in Atlanta. Yeah, I mean, I know you've done it before, but man, I haven't done it in years, and it sucks.
I hate driving to Georgia. Y'all got the worst drivers for sure.
I have 19 lanes of traffic for no reason, and they're awful.
Oh, yeah, they're all bad. But Brandon didn't go without getting a little something for the Bluebloods. He's got something special coming for y'all later this week. We'll announce it at the end of the episode, so stay tuned. But, guys, we did some over and unders, but we talked. We're going to save that for next month. Our interviews end in about a week. So, therefore, we're going to go back to, use July as kind of our pre-prediction month, kind of cover all these teams, go back to the over-under stuff. So, hang on to that. But we got to get to the Pac-12. Brandon, news came out that this new Pac-12 commissioner, George, I think it's Kliavkoff, he steps in, and they're talking about making big changes to the Pac-12 due to the expansion of the college football playoffs. It was reported by CBS and John Wilner of the Mercury News that they've engaged in preliminary discussions regarding changes to the structure of the football season due to the expansion. Among these things are changes such as eliminating divisions, dropping the non-conference game schedule to an 8, restructuring, who they play out of conference. And apparently these changes are months, if not a year or two away. And this all stems from the Pac-12 not having an automatic bid. And so, Brandon, you weren't here when I recorded the episode. I'm pretty sure the automatic bid episode, I think you were at the wedding. But I want to get your take on it real quick. What do you think about Larry Scott and the AAC commissioner getting into it over automatic bids? Do you think the Pac-12 should have an automatic bid to the playoffs?
I think the best 4 conference championships, championship winners should have the bid. I don't think it should be automatic. Like these 4 conferences get it. Like what if the Pac-12 is better than the Big 12 one season? Then they get it. What if the AAC is better than both of them one season? Then they get it. I think that's how it should be. I think it would be ridiculous to just give it to, like, for instance, give it to the SEC, ACC, Big 10, and Big 12. I think that's stupid.
Yeah, so, I mean, they're doing the top 6 champions too, Brandon, get bids. So it's like if you can't rank in the top 15, then do you deserve a playoff shot?
No, absolutely. You really don't. And that, I think that's what a lot of people get caught up on. And I don't want to spend too much time on this, but I think a lot of people think just like the top 12 teams in the country are going to make it to the playoff, which would make a little bit too much sense, I think. But I don't know. I guess they want representation from different conferences, whatever.
Hey, Southern Miss to the top. But Brandon, let's take each one of these as they come. So the first one is, should the Pac-12 eliminate divisions? Do you think this will help? Do you think this will hurt? And Brandon, is this something you like to see across all college football? Because the only conference that doesn't play with divisions is the Big 12 right now. And we saw the ACC do it this year and have pretty good results as their 2 best teams got in the conference championship. For you, what would you like to see done here?
Zach, yes, absolutely should eliminate divisions, as should every single conference in the country, because divisions, what are they good for? I know what they're good for. They're good for scheduling. They're good for fans. They're good for season ticket holders. Because as an LSU fan, let me tell you, as an LSU season ticket holder, let me tell you, I love getting to play Alabama every single year. You get that game, and it's exciting every single season. You take away divisions, LSU probably doesn't get that because LSU's not – I know they have a rivalry with Alabama, but it's not like big enough to where it's an automatic thing. They're going to be playing Florida every year, and they're probably going to be playing like Ole Miss every year, or Texas A&M every year, or somebody like that. Ole Miss is LSU's historical rival. That's the biggest.
Okay.
So, anyway, they wouldn't necessarily play Alabama every single season if we had like a rotating conference schedule rather than divisions. So I understand where people are coming from there. But if we want better football, if we want a better outcome, like we beaten to the ground every single episode of this podcast, every single episode of this show in general, then we need to like abolish divisions. And I know I haven't been very vocal about this before, but this is something I feel very strongly about. Because what did we see out of the ACC last season, Zach? We saw better football. We didn't get Clemson versus the winner of the other division, who might not have been the best team in the conference. We got Clemson versus Notre Dame, and then they both made it to the college football playoff. That was awesome. That was really awesome. And so, what do we see a couple of seasons ago when the Big 12 decided they were going to do like the Legends and the whatever they had their divisions within the conference, and then they went right back to no divisions because it makes more sense. For the Pac-12, it makes a lot more sense because you're going to be able to get the two best teams. You're going to be able to get Oregon and Washington when they're at their very best, like a couple seasons ago when Washington made the college football playoff. And Oregon probably had a shot to, if it were a 12-team playoff then, Oregon probably would have been in it. And they might not have gotten that shot had they had divisions at the time, because they wouldn't have been in their conference championship. Think about SEC for every season, or almost every single season, it seems like, where it's Alabama versus whoever comes out of the East. It's never Alabama versus the second best team in the SEC. I guess occasionally it is. Georgia's been really good for a couple of seasons here and there, but you get what I'm saying. We need to see the best final results in college football, and if we want the best playoff possible, we have to eliminate divisions. So this is a great idea for the Pac-12. It's going to allow them to get one, if not more, teams into the college football playoff season after season.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think it helps the matchups not become non-existent. I know we're talking about the Pac-12, but let's look at the SEC too. Brandon, do you know the last time Florida played Auburn and Jordan-Hare?
It's been a minute, huh? It's been
2006.
I was about to say, wow, 2006? I thought I could only go back 13 years, but wow, that's wild.
Yeah, and do you know how often Auburn, Missouri has played in Jordan-Hare?
Has it ever happened? Nope. I was about to say that's wild.
No. I mean, look at Florida A&M. Florida and Texas A&M played for the first time last year, Brandon, since A&M joined the SEC in 2013. How does that even happen?
I don't know. I really don't, man.
Alabama, Missouri, and at Missouri. I mean, that didn't happen. Same with the Pac-12. I mean, Brandon, how great would it be if you got to see everyone play almost everybody every 2-3 years? It would not only increase the parity of the conference, it also makes sure that your two best teams get into the championship. If you eliminated divisions in the SEC, or even the Pac-12, yes, you can keep the rivalries. You can keep the Oregon versus Washington rotating. You'll keep the USC, UCLA. You'll keep the LSU, Florida. You'll keep the Iron Bowl, of course. And you'll keep all that, but it also allows the two best teams to be represented, because really and truly with divisions, you could be garbage and just get lucky against your division, and then you get into the conference championship. Well, I don't know. Was it Pitt a few years back that got in the ACC championship with like a 7-5 record?
So I don't know the exact record, but it was something like that. Yeah.
Were they the second best team in the ACC?
No.
And it also helps the teams that are stuck behind a Georgia, behind an Alabama, behind a Clemson, behind an Ohio State. I mean, Brandon, how many times would LSU have potentially made the championship if they weren't stuck behind Alabama?
So many. And Zach, I mean, going off of that as well, imagine a rematch in 2013 between Alabama and Auburn in the SEC championship after that Iron Bowl. I mean, that's must-see football. And I get it. You don't want to watch that back. Some people are going to say, we don't want to watch that back-to-back. I do. I want to watch that game every single week if I can.
Well, I don't know if I would, because we probably would have lost. But I don't know about that one. But, I mean, for the Pac-12, so with the perception problem, Brandon, it's only going to improve your top team's perception if they can get by the next best team. If you consistently have your conference champion beating a perceived weaker opponent, then you're never going to get that respect in the long run. I think that's what we're targeting here with the elimination of divisions. I mean, I think in every conference, Brandon, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a strong conference and a conference that gets all the disrespect in the world.
Yeah, I mean, you see it. I mean, it's the SEC, it's the SEC West, it's the Big Ten, probably Big Ten East, just because of Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State.
The Pac-12 North with Oregon and Washington.
Right. So yeah,
and USC just dominates the South every year.
Right.
For the most part, I don't want to be too disrespectful, but for me with the Pac-12, you're gonna have to have your two best teams that are come out, or your best team coming out, have the strongest schedule. And to do that, you're gonna have to eliminate divisions, because let's say Oregon goes on a run, Washington falls off, Brandon. There's really no other competitors. If Oregon's winning out, they're gonna say they didn't play anybody.
Right.
How many times would Clemson, who got disrespected so often when they went undefeated, how much better would their strength of schedule look if they had to go play for like Virginia Tech one year in Blacksburg where they went undefeated? Like, it helps everybody's strength of schedule. So I absolutely agree with you. They should eliminate the divisions. But let's move on here. The other thing was eliminate a 9-team conference schedule. Brandon, this has been a debate for a long time. The SEC and ACC are the only teams that don't play a 9-team schedule. This brings this question. I want to take it broader than the Pac-12. Should every conference play a 9-team conference schedule?
No, I think you should lower that. I think 8's a good start, just because you do want to play within your own conference, of course. Like, you want to have that conference, the conference schedule. I mean, what's the point of being in the SEC if you don't play SEC teams, right? And so I think 8 teams is a good number, because 9 teams, what does that leave? That leaves you 3 games not in conference. So what are you going to do with those 3 games, Zach? You're going to go schedule lesser teams. I think with the way the playoff is moving, and you mentioned this on a previous episode last week, teams are going to start scheduling stronger opponents, which is a smart idea, because you want to prove that you can play out of conference. You want to prove that you deserve to be in this 12-team playoff. And so with an 8-team conference schedule, you have the opportunity to schedule, you want to schedule 2 lower teams and then maybe a ranked team and maybe a strong team from another conference, something like that. So I think if you play 9 games in conference, all you're doing there is proving that you can win within your own conference. You need to prove that you can win outside of it. And I think the ACC and SEC have think about this, Zach. Those are 2 conferences that have been in the college football playoff every single year since it started. So that's a big thing. I think that 8 game in conference schedule gives them the opportunity to play out of conference and prove that they deserve to be in the 4-team playoff. And I think in the future it's going to show that they definitely deserve to be in a 12-team playoff.
I mean, I don't mind a 9-game. So here's why I think that it's become a big thing. I don't think it helps the SEC to play a 9-team schedule. I don't think it helps the Pac-12, the Big Ten. The only one it helps is the Big 12, because they have 10 teams. So they can say everybody played everybody. That's the only reason this even became a debate, is because they can make that argument. But when you have more than 10 teams, then what's really the point?
Right.
Not playing everybody. An 8-team conference schedule for me is good. I do think that if we're going to extend this debate, that they should regulate how many FCS teams you can play in a year.
Yep.
I think you should only be able to play 1, in my opinion. And then you got to schedule. Then you can schedule a group of 5 schools, but then you need to play 2 Power 5 schools in the 4 extra games. So I agree with you. I think an 8-game one's there. But Brandon, let's move this to the Pac-12. Do you think moving from a 9 to an 8-team schedule is going to help the Pac-12 in their pursuit to make the college football playoff?
I think it does, because what do we look at the Pac-12 and see here in recent seasons, Zach? We see the weakest Power 5 conference in the past couple of seasons. That's just a fact. They have been the absolute weakest Power 5 conference. So what does it prove by playing against yourself? What does it prove when you're Stanford playing against Cal? Nothing. I
You know what
mean,
it proves?
what?
It proves that they're just going to beat up on each other every year.
That's what I'm
Because they
saying.
take away that one game. What if Oregon doesn't have to play Arizona State in
Right.
2019?
Yeah, I mean, it gives them opportunity to play outside of their conference and prove that they can play against anybody. And they can't do that. And that's why the Pac-12 has been left out of the playoff for the past few seasons, because they beat each other up every single year. I mean, that's been a common theme since we've been on this podcast. We come on, talk about Pac-12 after dark like it's a joke, because it is, because it might be fun to watch, but all we see is these teams beating up on each other and eating the conference from the inside out. Like, they tear each other down, and so the best record is a 3-loss record in that conference. And I think that's what Oregon had. I think that's what Oregon had 2 seasons ago. I think they went
in 2019.
Yeah.
Well, no, they had 2 because they had Auburn and Arizona State.
Okay, so they had a 2-loss schedule, which you're the conference champion with the 2-loss record. That's not great. I mean, you see the SEC and ACC coming out undefeated. You see the Big Ten coming out undefeated. And you see, I mean, that's how you're going to make the playoff with a 14 playoff. And we've said that you can lose maybe 2 games here and there, but you still haven't proved that you can win outside of your own conference. You know, the Pac-12's weak. Why would you play within yourself and prove that you can beat a lower team? Go play a team from the Big Ten or the SEC or the ACC and prove to the playoff committee that you can actually play.
Right. I mean, honestly, for me, I think the biggest thing is that you have to not beating up on each other isn't a bad thing. I think that has to do with how good your conference is. I think it shows that the parity in the Pac-12 is bigger than people give it credit for. It's just I don't think you gain anything from it unless you can play every single team in your conference. And it's just dumb. And this brings us to our last point, Brandon. So all this has to do with improving the Pac-12's perception, getting them in the playoffs. How do you think the Pac-12 can improve their perception? What else can they do other than the conference schedule, other than the eliminate divisions? What do you need to see the Pac-12 do to be a better conference overall?
That's tough. That's a really tough question. I mean, the easy answer here is you need to start playing better. I mean, we have to see them win more games. Like I said, in 2019, the conference champion had 2 losses, and that's not going to get you a ticket to the playoff. That's a fact because they didn't make the playoff. So moving on from there, I don't know. I'm kind of stumped here, Zach, because I want to say the same points I've been reiterating here and there, like schedule in Ohio State, schedule in Wisconsin, schedule in North Carolina, schedule an opponent who is worth anything, and then maybe we'll talk about your perception increasing. But I mean, what are your ideas here? Because I'm kind of stumped.
I got one simple solution.
Okay,
win.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying.
So it's not even. It's just that. That's kind of how I wanted to circle this around. It's great to eliminate divisions. You're making small improvements. It's great to fix your in-conference schedule. That's amazing. I think the Pac-12 already does a great job of scheduling out-of-conference games. Brandon, sometimes if there's a problem, it's just the simplest solution. You don't have this is the equivalent of being worried about the wrong thing. Your car's broken down, but you're changing the tires. It's it's not going anywhere. You're changing the tires on a broken down car. You're fixing the wrong problem. You just have to win it. So Brandon, if Oregon goes and beats Ohio State this year and wins the Pac-12, do you think Oregon's in the playoffs? Absolutely,
yeah.
Okay, that's it. Does it matter if they play a 9-team schedule?
Nope, it doesn't.
Does it matter if there's divisions?
They can play a 10-team schedule and then beat Ohio State and they're in.
Exactly. It's good. It does improve a little bit. But until you beat somebody worth a damn, then it doesn't matter. Like your conference champion in 2018 to 2019 lost to Auburn, who finished third and fourth in the SEC West.
That's tough.
And UCLA, if you're a UCLA fan, you have to beat LSU week 1.
Yeah.
If you're an Oregon fan, you have to beat Ohio State week 2. If you're, I think Colorado's playing Texas A&M. I don't expect Colorado to beat A&M. I get it, but be competitive. It can't be a 42-7 drubbing in Boulder. You have to make it a 1 or get it under 10 points. Be competitive. And, Arizona State's going through some stuff. They got some good conference games. I don't know what they're going to be going into this year, so we'll leave them out of this. But if you're USC, you have to win your out-of-conference games. And the biggest thing is I think the media has to adjust their biases. I do think the media has a slight bias towards certain teams, certain conferences. A win's a win. Like last year, a lot was being made about USC's barely winning, but they're winning.
Right. It's the same deal when teams are barely losing. It's a loss. It doesn't matter if your 5 losses have been from a total of 9 points. You're still losing.
And I get it. So, yes, they slid by Arizona. Not a great look for USC, but they still won. And I get it. You can say it, which is USC might not be as good as we think because I think this, and this is going to catch up with them, which is why they didn't blow out Arizona. But until they lose, none of that matters.
Right.
They should get the same respect as a 42-0 drubbing of another team. I mean, and so I think we have to adjust our expectations a little bit, but really and truly, the only thing the Pac-12 has to do is win. You have to recruit better. Oregon's the only team in the Pac. Oregon and Washington and USC now, I guess, are the only 3 teams that recruit at a level high enough to even think about making the college football playoff.
Absolutely.
Arizona State was on that road, but they were just underneath. Brandon, does anybody else in the Pac-12 recruit at that level?
No.
And that's it. That's what you have to do to prove your perception. It's a simple solution. It's not simple to execute because winning those games are tough. That's all you have to do, though. If you win, Brandon, I think you're in. And I think the Pac-12, they're making the right movements, but we have to make sure we have to be sure that winning's all that matters. And we have to be sure that we're taking steps forward. And I like what he's doing, but you still got to schedule those games. You still got to win them. And until they do that, I think the Pac-12 is going to have a perception problem.
They absolutely will, Zach, and it feels like such an easy fix, but somehow it's still like so far out of reach.
Right. But, man, comment below. Let us know what you think about the changes. Let us know your opinion on the questions we answered here today. And what do you think the Pac-12 can do to improve their perception? Comment below, man. We love y'all's interaction. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up, man. Helps us get this content out there. But, man, B-Dub, go ahead and announce what were you actually doing in Atlanta? We know that wedding was all made up. That was a waste of time. What were we actually doing in Atlanta?
Well, Christina, if you're listening, it was not made up. I was there. It was wonderful. But our flight did get delayed, and we did have time on our way back to stop in Atlanta and go to the College Football Hall of Fame. And, guys, we recorded a little bit of footage. No one stopped us. I didn't really ask if we could, but no one stopped us. They saw us. And so we've got some footage. I've still got to edit and everything. My plan is to have this up for tomorrow, so Friday. But worst case scenario will be up next week. So I'm editing it, and I'm trying to make it all look good together. There's a lot of cool stuff in there, and I guess I'm going to have to have a conversation with Zach because he's been there before. I've never been there before. It's my first time. So I saw a lot of cool stuff and whatever else. But there's a lot of – I mean, if you're here because we cover HBCU content, ton of really cool HBCU stuff that they've put in recently. I know they've had stuff, but they've done a lot more in like the recent months. So, guys, just stay patient with me, please. I'm going to get this up as soon as possible, but it's a super cool video. And if you're ever in Atlanta, you for sure have to go by this place because it's incredible.
Absolutely, guys. More announcements will be coming out about when that will be up. But while you're waiting on that, man, go check out our 2-minute episodes, 2-minute drill episodes from earlier this week. We have interviews 5 days this week, man. We kicked it off with Georgia. We had Alabama, Kentucky yesterday. We got Texas A&M today, and we wrap up the week with Tennessee tomorrow. So make sure to go check out all of those. If you got friends who are fans of any of those teams, make sure to go share them. But guys, we'll be back tomorrow. But for B-Dub, myself, and the Blue Bloods, we are out.